Welcome back to another Stand on Guard episode. I'm David Crayden, and it's Monday, September 23rd, 2024. Exciting week ahead of us. What does that mean to Justin Trudeau, though? Where is he today and over the next couple of days? Well, there's a non-confidence vote in the House of Commons. Stay tuned to find out.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please like the station. You know, folks, we're about 150 subscribers away from hitting that 30,000 mark. Why don't you be that 30,000 subscriber? Now, I know you're going to say, hey, I'll wait all day, but make my day, please. Be that 30,000 subscriber today. Let's go over the top today so we can continue to beat YouTube censorship. Believe me, they came down hard on my last two episodes. Why? Because I was talking about the bubble zone at the House of Commons that nobody else is talking about, and they don't want people to know that this is coming. Not just for the public. It's coming for new media, independent media. We will be barred. I know it. That's why they're dithering right now with my parliamentary press gallery credentials. They're not renewing, as far as I can see. I have been calling and leaving messages, and nope, I think I'll be in the same boat as my friends at the Rebel, who were declared non-journalists by a federal court. And this is they're all in this together, folks. It's really, really horrible what goes on here. I'm gonna better get the microphone a little closer, right, folks? So, what's happening this week? Of course, we got a non-confidence motion being raised by Pierre Poilievre, leader of the official opposition, Conservatives, and the NDP, despite saying they're ripping up that coalition agreement. I'm not going to call it what they call it. It's a BS terminology. It's a loose coalition with the Liberals. They say they ripped it up. Did they? They're supporting the Liberals this week. So are the separatist Bloc Québécois, the treasonous party, Bloc Québécois, the traitorous Bloc Québécois party. Its members will be voting with Trudeau because they love Trudeau. Yes, they love Trudeau. The separatists love Trudeau. They just think he's wonderful because they agree on just about everything, except perhaps separation of Quebec. That might be the only point they disagree with. But they agree with their social agenda. They agree with their economic agenda. They agree with their climate change agenda. And that's why the Bloc is supporting Trudeau. Because for the Bloc, it's all about the Bloc and it's all about Quebec. I hope they get decimated in the next election, wiped off the face of the electoral map. That is my wish for the Bloc Québécois. There's no party in the House of Commons I despise more than the Bloc, because as I've said a dozen times, at least on this program, they have no business at all sitting in the House of Commons when the House of Commons is a legislature for Canada. Go sit in the Quebec legislature. Go back to Quebec is what I always say to them. Don't taint, don't infect our federal legislature. It's already infected enough with the Trudeau Liberals. But what's going on with Justin Trudeau? Well, he's at the United Nations, of course. Where else would he be? There's a non-confidence vote coming up. Trudeau's not concerned. No, he knows he's got the other opposition parties in his pocket. He knows there's nothing to worry about, and this is incredible. This is just incredible. I'll show you some clips in a minute of this, and we'll go through what he says. What do you think Trudeau's doing? He's auditioning, literally. This is an actor appearing before the United Nations, auditioning for the job of Secretary General. Who has that job right now? Yeah, I don't even have to look at my crib notes here. Antonio Guterres. This man is very elderly. It would be such a nice change to have the youthful Justin Trudeau in the job. Guterres is nearing the end of his term. He could be nominated to serve another, but he's too old. Far too old for the job. So Justin Trudeau went to the UN in New York City to show off what a globalist he is. He is the answer to the UN. He's the youthful, energetic, dynamic, excuse me, I'm just about getting nauseous, new leader who has demonstrated what a globalist he is as a prime minister. Just think what he can do as Secretary General of the UN. Justin Trudeau, the ultimate globalist, becomes Secretary General of the United Nations, takes his agenda to a new level. You know, I got to tell you this, folks. It amazes me how dumb some people are. Not you people who are watching this show, but how stupid some Canadians are when they really believe they're not being taken for a ride in all of this posturing that's going on right now in Ottawa. But Jagmeet Singh, I'm ripping it up. It's all over. I'm putting my foot down. I'm against the carbon tax on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I decided I'm for it. Jagmeet Singh is a joke. He's a clown, but so is Justin Trudeau. Every day, I'm staying. I'm here to stay. Yeah, right. What did you hear Joe Biden say just before he quit? Just before he was pushed out by the Democratic Party bosses and donors and upper echelon senators and congressmen and women? What was the last thing Joe Biden said? Just literally 24 hours before he was gone. I'm here to stay. Precisely the exact words Justin Trudeau has used, and he's used several times. I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere. I'm running in the next election. Justin Trudeau's playing us for fools. This is the job he wants at the United Nations. He wants to be Secretary General, and he auditioned for it, and we'll see how well he did the audition. But get this is the joke here. Justin's not coming home today. No, 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 no. Even though there's Parliament is sitting and his government is facing a non-confidence vote. Not a problem for Justin. He's going to stay on not only tonight, he's going to do an interview with the notorious liberal lefty Stephen Colbert on The Late Show. When they say The Late Show, it really should mean late as in dead. It should be The Dead Show because Colbert has got nothing to say. He's got no audience. He's one of these unfunny late night hosts who comes on and gets applause from political ideologues in the audience. Nobody laughs at him because he's not funny, but they clap because he makes lots of disparaging, smearing remarks against conservatives, against Donald Trump, and the usual cast of characters that lefty talk show hosts can't stand. Not a single joke about Joe Biden. Never mentioned Joe Biden's dementia. Never poked fun at how stupid the Democratic Party looked running a man who could barely walk, who didn't even remember his name, couldn't remember world leaders, on and on and on. Just got decimated in a presidential debate. No jokes about the Democratic Party doing that. It's all about the Republicans. But Justin Trudeau is so sure he's going to win this non-confidence vote. He's going to stick around for an interview tonight. Yeah, we'll be talking about that tomorrow on the Stephen Colbert Show. And he's not coming back tomorrow. Coming back Wednesday when the vote is occurring. Is he going to come back in enough time to vote? Does he even care? Does he even care if he's there to vote? Because he knows he's got the NDP, the Bloc, and probably the Green Party. Yeah, all two of them in his pocket. Politics is so damn corrupt. It is just so corrupt. It makes me want to throw up. I am so sick at times of dealing with such nauseatingly dirty material. And that's what Justin Trudeau is. So what's he doing in the UN?
Deputy Minister expressed disappointment with a pact approved today by the UN General.
So why is Russia the only country trying to buck the globalist agenda? Russia was the only one that said, no, we don't want the summit of the future because we don't want the UN to control our destiny.
Assembly. The agreement is aimed at uniting the world's increasingly divided nations to tackle challenges from climate change and AI to conflicts and...
Did you hear what she said? Tackle challenges. That's right out of the Justin Trudeau playbook. That's right out of the Liberal Party talking points. The mainstream media just laps it up. They are the lap dogs in Justin Trudeau's lap. These people are just incredibly sold out.
Poverty. It was adopted at the opening of a two-day Summit of the Future in New York.
Summit
CTV's
of the
Mike
future.
LeCouture is there. Mike, what did the Prime Minister have to say to world leaders?
Huh.
Heather, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told delegates we're at a global inflection point. And he says the choice is to either walk away from multilateral organizations like the United Nations or to set our differences aside and come together to tackle.
See how they just, the sycophantic mainstream media. They love Trudeau. Oh, he's such a hero. He's demanding we draw the line, the red line in the sand here between going alone or going multilateral with the UN. Oh, they just repeat the talking points. Because why? Because they're in Trudeau's pocket. CTV is getting paid by Justin Trudeau to say this.
Threats like climate change and different conflicts around the world. He gave a speech at the UN's first ever Summit of the Future. It's an opportunity for the UN to reset and recommit to goals like eliminating poverty and hunger around the world. That's being compared to the Paris Agreement on climate change signed back in 2015. Last year, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the Sustainable Development Goals are in need of a global rescue plan. At the time, only 15% of the targets were on track to being met. However, achieving consensus could be difficult. Already, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and others have pushed back on language around climate change and reforming international financial institutions. Now, in this moment of reckoning for the United Nations, Trudeau pointed to policies the Liberals have implemented as examples of governments stepping up.
Can you see, is there any clear indication that this is a job resume? Hire me! I'm already doing your globalist agenda in Canada. Just look at the Liberal Party policies. They're right out of the UN playbook. I'm in league with Klaus Schwab and the WEF. I'm in league with all of these globalist entities. That's what Justin Trudeau is saying.
He mentioned the National Child Care Program and National Dental Care as examples of investing in citizens. And he called on other countries to return to the reason why the United Nations was first formed.
And we did so with the aspiration to build something better for today's generations, yes, but also for many generations to come.
The Prime Minister will be spending the next 2 days in New York at the UN General Assembly, meeting with other world leaders. He's also scheduled to make an appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert Monday night. All of this in a week where his Liberal minority government will be tested in Ottawa.
No problem. Hey, go ahead, test my government. I've got another job to go to. Yeah, that's what Justin is telling us, and he doesn't give a damn. Because, hey, it's time to move on. Time to move upward to the UN. Let's listen to the whole speech. It's about 5 minutes long, but I will stop it in a few places just to note how full of crap this man is.
Friends, as we meet here in New York at the UN General Assembly for this Summit of the Future, we're at a global inflection point.
I'm sorry, I have to mention Summit of the Future. You remember that old Honeymoons episode where Ralph Cramden is the chef of the future, and they're doing that TV? It was that paid that TV advertisement that was done live, and he couldn't get out the phrase "chef of the future." Well, that's exactly Justin Trudeau is the Secretary General of the future.
Faced with escalating instability undermining the very foundations of the international order, beset by the increasingly dire costs of climate change, contending with rising inequality that is leaving the most vulnerable behind.
I hope those people in the auditorium aren't voting because Trudeau's talking to an empty house. So the delegates in the forum don't seem too interested. I hope he's got more votes someplace if he wants to be the next Secretary General.
Plagued by the erosion of women's rights, LGBT+ rights, and Indigenous rights.
What the hell is he talking about? What erosion of women's rights? What is he talking about? Is he talking about how women's rights are being eroded by trans philosophy? How women can't compete in sports anymore because biological men are taking it over? Is that how rights are being eroded, Justin? If so, you're doing it. How about the LGBTQ rights being eroded? Really? I wouldn't have believed so. You're the one who's promoted Pride season in Canada. Yeah, you're virtually forcing schools to have pride-raising ceremonies. You're spending tens of millions of dollars going after parents who oppose gender ideology in the schools, who don't like the whole LGBTQ plus agenda in their classrooms. You've got millions of dollars for that. So how are these rights being eroded, Justin? No, you don't know. You have not got a clue. You just love the talking point.
And grappling with dire humanitarian crises perpetuating record levels of displacement, we have a choice. On the one hand, we can bury our heads in the sand, eschewing multilateralism in favor of short-sighted self-interest, or we can recognize that collectively we have a responsibility to set our differences aside, to confront the serious global challenges, and to deliver on a pact for the future that builds a more peaceful world.
How are we building a more peaceful world, Justin, when you're continuing to fund the war in Ukraine and have no conception of stopping it, stopping the war or finding peace? How is that building a more peaceful future? It's all BS. It's all tired and fake rhetoric. He has no conception of peace in the world. Absolutely none. But he keeps talking this incredibly inept line. It's hard to listen to.
But also one where everyone, every generation, has a real and fair shot. In Canada, that's what we are squarely focused on. Do
you think we're focused on everyone having a real shot in Canada, or is it just the elitists? Is it just the elite, the economic super rich in Canada who have a real shot at anything? Not those horrible lunatic fringe people that Trudeau doesn't even want to talk to or talk about, except calling them racist and misogynist. Do they have a shot, Justin?
Travel across my country, Canadians of all walks of life, but particularly young Canadians, tell me that they're worried. They're worried about the state of the world and the future. But most importantly, they're worried about the very promise of Canada. The promise that if you work hard, you can do better than the generation.
Yeah, if they're worried, Justin, they're worried because you make it impossible to be rewarded if you work hard. Once again, you don't listen. I don't even believe for a minute you are talking to anybody outside your small circle of friends.
That preceded you. That promise is slipping out of reach. So as a government, we are stepping up. The solution to anxiety and angst is not to deceive and deflect, but to take action. We know that confident, successful countries invest in their citizens, in their workers, in their middle class, in national $10 a day childcare that saves families money while ensuring women can choose the best path for themselves, in nutritious school meals so our kids can focus on learning and growing, in an ambitious housing plan that will deliver.
No, they can't focus on learning and growing because you insist that their curriculum be sexualized, that they learn about gender ideology and critical race theory and the LGBTQ agenda. You don't let them learn or grow. You won't let kids be kids. You won't let children be children. You think a free lunch is going to make any difference at all? You're destroying their lives.
Deliver good, abundant, and affordable homes, in a national dental care program that in its first months has already delivered quality care to 750,000 Canadians, in a growth and industrial strategy that creates good-paying, community-building, middle-class jobs, all while fighting climate change. These are choices that deliver on the promise of Canada for every generation. These choices reflect a commitment to investing in our people and in our future, but also a commitment to tackle global problems that we all share. Les changements climatiques.
Climate change and inflation don't stop at borders. Inequality is a problem for the entire world, for people from all walks of life. If we really want to serve our own citizens, we must together tackle the great global challenges. We should work within institutions such as the United Nations and renew our commitment to the Sustainable Development Agenda for 2030. We need to protect and support the rule of law and democratic values. We should spearhead efforts to reform in the international financial institutions. We must put women's and girls' rights at the very heart of our efforts, much like we have done with our feminist international assistance policy. We must recognise also that rich countries such as Canada have a duty to fight climate change, which is what we're doing through our commitment of $5 billion towards global climate financing efforts. And we are the first big oil and gas producing country to establish an emission ceiling in this sector.
Delegates, nearly 80 years ago, in the aftermath of the most destructive war in our collective history, we formed these United Nations. And we did so with the aspiration to build something better for today's generations, yes, but also for many generations to come. All of us gathered here have an opportunity to hold true to that mission, to fulfill the promise of our Pact for the Future to deliver fairness for every generation. Merci.
There's the globalist agenda. This was an audition for the job of Secretary General, whatever else he can get, because he knows his time is over in Canada. He knows it's over. He knows it's over. He will eventually have to face the voters, unless, of course, he takes over that too and decides we don't need any more elections. Well, Melanie Joly said Canadians don't want elections. They just want us to govern. Trudeau might continue to say that and just stay in power. That's another option for this little dictator. But of course, the United Nations is always an option too. As we close today, I want you to listen to this astounding testimony. Astounding testimony. You remember when Stephen Guilbeault, our blessed environment and climate change minister, talked about no more roads in Canada. Trudeau government's not going to build any roads. Oh, and there was some pushback from the cabinet saying, "Don't say that yet, Stephen. Don't say that yet. That just sounds a little too radical for most Canadians. Most Canadians are going to say, "Hey, what the hell is the government there for except to build roads and infrastructure? Because that's one thing we can't always rely on the private sector to do." Yeah, that's sort of a primary function of government. But no, not with Stephen Guilbeault. We don't want to build roads. That might encourage people to drive. And that means people using cars, and they might not be electric. Let's listen to this.
Is the government considering prohibiting road construction through this emergency order?
I'll defer to.
Let's start again.
Is the government considering prohibiting road construction through this emergency order?
I'll defer to my colleagues. Yeah.
The issue of roads and their closure of roads would be one thing that would be under consideration in the context of the development of an order. The order has not been developed.
It is being considered.
Could be one of the things considered, yes.
So they are considering prohibiting road construction through this emergency order? Yes.
The order has not been developed yet.
They are
Answer
considering.
It would be something that would be subject of consideration.
Excellent grab. That's what the Trudeau government is really up to. Yeah, Stephen Guilbeault was talking truthfully. You know, he's an absolute moron at times, but he does occasionally tell the frank truth. And when he was talking about the government no longer building roads, he knew there was a plan to do exactly that. He knew the government does not want to build roads anymore because, well, you know, that would not coincide with Trudeau's green agenda or his fighting climate change. And if Trudeau wants to be the next Secretary General of the UN, We better get serious about these things in Canada, because he claims in front of that audience in New York City that he is pretty serious about being a climate change fighter and taking on those challenges, rolling up his sleeves and taking on the challenges. You know how he talks, the usual BS. So that's the truth, folks. We are going to face a government that says no more roads because it encourages you to drive. Driving is a bad thing because that gives you a sense of freedom, which this government doesn't want you to feel. And my God, you're creating carbon. Carbon's a pollution. And we have to stop you from creating carbon because that's greenhouse gas emissions and that's climate change and that's a existential threat. And it's going to mean the end of the world in the next decade. You know the crap, the spew that they spew. But there's evidence of this government actually wanting to stop road construction. So you saw it this morning. Trudeau is looking for his next job at the United Nations. That's what he's up to. That's why he doesn't give a damn about the non-confidence vote this week. He's going to go on the Stephen Colbert show tonight, and he's not getting back till Wednesday sometime when the vote is actually occurring. He knows he's got the NDP in the Bloc in his pocket, and he knows he's going to the United Nations. That was his job interview. That was his audition. He's an actor. He's nothing but an actor. He's a vacuous actor who can just remember his lines. And even then, he forgets them during question period half the time. I'm going to leave it at that for today. Thank you so much for watching. It is always a pleasure to be with you. And it's going to be an exciting week, and I'll be here every morning to be there with you, to give you all the news that you need to know. And remember, don't ever stop giving up hope. Be of strong conviction. Fear not. Be not afraid, because we will be triumphant and always resolve to resist. For Stand on Guard, I'm David Craydon, and I